Hi everyone. So I'm really excited about this project. I really love yogurt, this French style yogurt. And I always have these leftover jars that I don't know what to do with. I've seen people online using them for like candle holders and stuff. But I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I'm going to make a bird feeder. So I've got 8 of these jars that I'm going to use. I'm going to upcycle everything. Most of the glass was bought at thrift stores. So I've got these candle holders and this vase with the fancy design on it. I've got this really fancy salt shaker. I think I got this one at the old Packin' House thrift store in Umatilla. I bought this, I think this is a candle holder. I'm not really sure, but I bought this at a thrift store, $1.50. I'm going to just use that for decoration. Another salt shaker. I've got pony beads for color and marbles for color. Got these little tiny spoons along with the nails that I'm going to make perches out of. And I've got these pieces of wood here that I bought on Amazon. They're just little pieces of craft wood. And I'm going to make little tiny roofs to go on top of the little jars here. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to use wood glue for the wood parts. I'm going to use GE silicone and JB Weld clear epoxy. And I've got this hook for the top. Little tiny condiment spoons. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to get started. Okay, the first thing I'm going to try to do is to peel these labels off, because I'm going to try to save the labels and maybe use it in part of the design. Oh, look at that, it peels off real easy. Oh, good. And then I'll have to wash these jars. So I'm going to peel all these. And here's all the stickers that I peeled off. They all came off in one piece. And I think I'm going to use some of this art on the bird feeder, because I think that'll look cute. Okay, so I washed all the glass, and some of these jars had sticky residue from the stickers that were on here. So what I use is WD-40. I just bought this little can of spray. I just sprayed it on the glass and let it sit there for a couple minutes and then wipe it off with a paper towel. It comes right off. So just wanted to let you know that. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing the roof parts together. I'm just going to glue these 2 pieces together like that. Okay, so I just tape that on there. And then I'll put some tape on the sides too. Okay, I'm going to do all 8 of them right now. Okay, here they are all glued up. I'll have to let these dry overnight because the wood glue takes a little while to dry. So I'm going to start gluing the glass pieces together and then work on the wood afterwards. So I'm going to start with the bottom. This is going to be the bottom of the bird feeder. This is just for decoration. And this is going to go on top here. And I'm going to glue marbles around the edge. Okay. So this is going to go on here like this. So I'm going to glue the marbles around the edge. And I'm going to use GE silicone for this one because it's a gel and I think it will help hold the marbles on better than the epoxy just because it's thicker. Okay, so I'll set that aside. Okay, so I'm going to put some marbles inside of the salt shaker. And I'm going to glue this candle holder upside down on top of here, like that. And I'm going to use epoxy for this one because it needs a lot of strength to hold the weight underneath it. So I'm going to use JB Weld clear epoxy. And I like it because it has the little twist cap on top. So after you're done using it, you can just close it back up. And I'm just going to put a little bit in here because I don't need too much. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over. So I put a little layer of epoxy on the bottom of this vase here to help it hold in place. Okay, now I'm going to glue this candle holder on top of the vase, like this. So I'm going to put epoxy around the edge here first. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pour epoxy into the bottom of this. So I have an extra layer of epoxy on the bottom. So that'll hold it nice and tight when it's hanging. Alright, just let that dry. Okay, now I'm going to do the salt shaker. I'm going to take the top off. And this is going to be where the hook goes. Like this, in the top. So I need to fill this with epoxy. That's why I'm going to put beads inside to fill up the space. So I don't have to use up so much epoxy. And it'll give it a little extra color. So I'm going to put these in here. Okay, now I'm going to mix up the epoxy and pour it in here. Okay, so I filled it to the top. I'm going to stick the hook in there. That. Okay, so I'm going to let all these glass pieces dry, and I'm going to go ahead and work on the wooden roof. Okay, so these yogurt jars are going to be glued onto the glass sideways like this. And I'm going to put little roofs on the top to help keep rainwater out of it. So I'm going to glue them on like this. And I got these little triangles to go underneath like this. It doesn't cover the whole space there, so I'm going to have to glue 2 triangles together. So I'm going to do that first. Okay, so I have all the triangles glued up. Let that dry. Okay, so now I'm going to make the perches for the birds that are going to be glued to the jars. I'm going to glue tiny spoons onto the nails like this. And then when that's dry, I'm going to glue it to the jar like this. So the birds will have something to perch on while they're eating the food out of the jar. And I'm going to use silicone just because it's a thicker gel and I think it'll hold a little bit better. The epoxy is very thin, so it would run right off the nail. So let me do this. I think I'm going to go ahead and tape the nails in place before I glue them on here so they won't move around. Okay, I have all the nails evenly spaced. Okay, I'm going to put a little dab of silicone on the end. Okay, all the spoons are in place. And I'll just let these dry overnight and then glue them to the jars in the morning. Okay, these little triangles are dry, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off these little points here with a razor blade. Okay, now that I have these cut, I'm going to glue the triangle into the roof like this. I'm going to put it right in the middle. Okay, I have all these glued up. Put a little piece of tape on the top to hold it in place till it dries. Okay, I just sprayed these perches with a clear coat. I use this Rust-Oleum high heat ceramic coating. It'll keep the nails from rusting and make it last a little bit longer. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing these perches onto the yogurt containers. They're going to go on here like this. So I'm going to glue them on upside down. And so the nails touch in two different spots on here, which will be good, right on the edge here and then onto the glass. And what I'm going to use, I still have a little bit left of this JB Weld epoxy that's steel reinforced. It's dark gray. And it's a little bit stronger than the clear, and it's a little bit thicker, so I think that'll work for this. I think I have just enough in here. Okay, so the little triangles are dry. So now I'm going to put these little wood chips. I'm going to glue them onto the roof like this and overlap them so that they'll look like tiles, roof tiles, like this. So I'll put 3 in a row on each side and make it look more like a real roof, like shingles. Okay, so I'm just going to put the first layer on each one of these first and let that dry. Okay, so I have the first row glued on. Okay, I'm going to glue the second layer of tiles on here. Just going to put it like this and have them overlap. Okay, so these perches are dry. And so now I'm going to glue these to the sides of the pillar. This is actually going to be upright like this. And I'm going to put one on each side. So it'll be like this. And then one here. And all the way around. And the same for this one. So there will be a total of 8 sides with these little feeders on them. So I'm going to lay these on their sides. Okay, I decided to use a weight and my little wooden pieces to hold it up, just to make these level for when I glue the cups on here. I want it to be level. Okay, I have these both glued on. Have them nice and straight. Lots of epoxy. And I'll let that dry for at least 30 minutes before I glue some more jars on here. Okay, so I flip these over since these are dry, and I'm going to glue a jar onto the other side like that. Okay, I have 2 sides done. They're all centered. I'm going to let these 2 dry overnight before I do the other 2 sides. I'll do that tomorrow. Okay, so I let these dry overnight, and now I'm going to glue these jars onto this side, like this. Okay, now I'm going to glue the last row of shingles onto these roofs. Okay, I think these are dry enough where I can flip them over and do the last side. Okay, that part's finished. And I'll just let everything dry overnight. Okay, so now I'm going to paint the roofs yellow color. I've got this Krylon gloss sunbeam yellow, and I thought yellow would be nice for the roofs to keep with the color scheme that I already have going with the yellow and orange. So I'm going to do the bottom first, and then I'll do the top. Okay, I'll let that dry a little bit and then I'll paint the other side. Okay, now I'm going to paint the top of the roofs. Okay, another thing I wanted to do was to use some of these labels for art on the roofs in the little triangle area. I think I want to cut out like where the fruit is and then glue that onto the triangle. That'll go underneath the roof. We'll see how that looks. So I'm just going to trace this with a marker and then cut it with scissors. There we go. They're all cut. So then I'll glue these on like this. Okay, I went ahead and glued the labels onto the roof here on a little triangle area. Okay, so now I'm going to put a clear coat on these roofs. I'm using this spray polyurethane. It's oil-based, clear satin. Okay, so these have dried overnight. So I'm going to stand these up and try gluing all these pieces together. Okay, so this is going to be the bottom. This is going to hang underneath it. This is just to give it color and decoration. And I'm going to glue this salt shaker into the middle of this candle holder like that. So, mix up some epoxy. Okay, I'll put some on the bottom of this first. That should be enough. I'm going to put something heavy on here to hold it in place. Okay, this one is going to be the top part, and this salt shaker with the hook is going to be glued onto the top like this. And then it can hang by this hook when it's all dry. So I'll mix up some epoxy. Maybe while it's still wet, I'll put some marbles on here too. We'll see how that looks. I'll have to do it quick because that dries fast. Oh, I think that looks good. Okay, so now I'm ready to put the roofs on. They're going to sit on the edge like this. I'm going to glue them on the triangle part in the front and also in the back corners. Now if I have the wood touching the glass, it's going to be tilted back a little bit. So I'm going to put some little bumpers on there. I have these I found. They're little clear bumpers, and that'll help raise it up from the jar a little bit. So I'm going to glue those on the back corners of the roof. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing the roofs onto the jars using silicone. Okay, so I put it on the back of the triangle and on the little bumpers. Okay, so the last thing I have to do here is glue these two pieces together. This one's going to sit on top of this one. So I'm going to use epoxy. Okay, so I glued the middle together using epoxy. And I'll just let this dry overnight. Okay, so it's the next morning. Everything's dry. I peeled all the tape off. So the only thing left is to bring it outside and hang it up for the birds. And see what kind of birds come feed on this. Okay, so here it is outside, hanging in the sun.